Welcome back to the ANSO Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Manuel Calo. This is the podcast where we highlight the incredible service, leadership, and contribution of Hispanic military members and beyond. Today, I'm honored to have Captain Alejandro Hernandez as our guest. Captain Hernandez is an Air Support Control Officer with the Marine Corps, Marine Air Support Squadron 2, and an exemplary leader with a truly inspired journey in the Marine Corps. We explore Captain Hernandez's career, his leadership philosophy, and his experiences as Weapons and Tactics Instructor, a key role in shaping future Marine leaders. Before we dive in, make sure you're following ANSO in all social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at ANSO Mail. If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening. As a reminder, the views expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any government agency or organization. Without further ado, let's welcome Captain Hernandez. How's it going, brother? Welcome to the podcast.
It's going great. How are you doing?
Good.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Like I said, we had a little conversation chat before we started the podcast. I want to highlight that Colonel Montalban actually made this possible to have you here in the podcast.
No, absolutely. And I also want to send a big shout out and thank you to Colonel Montalban. And I mean, he's been the one that's been able to get me connected with a lot of great leaders and great community for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure with the ANSO community. So that's what we're here for. Now, Alejandro, let's talk about you. Like I mentioned on the introduction, we want to know more about you. Why inspired you to become a Marine? So you can actually walk us back when you were back in Visalia, California.
Yeah, so Visalia, California is where I was born, but I was raised in Rosie, California. That's where my parents lived and raised me and my two sisters. So I went to high school there and graduated in 2012. I actually had gone to a recruiting station back in 2011 to look into enlisting. So initially I had an enlisting contract that I had signed for I believe it was 5 years, and I was looking to go in as soon as I graduated high school. I got connected to the Marine Corps with one of my friends who he had already signed his enlistment contract and he was waiting to graduate. So he got me connected with the community, and initially I got invited just to go work out. And then I started working out with them. I started seeing the camaraderie being built up, and really it's what pulled me in. Having the chance that really I had two sisters. I did want to find people that were more like me, right? So I ended up finding people there that like to work out, same interests, and that's what the brotherhood for me really started growing. And I told him, like, hey, look, I'm committed. I want to go in. I want to see what the Marine Corps has to offer and how I could grow as a person. So
Yeah,
I was
so it's all about camaraderie, right? So that it started like, hey, I see these guys like working out. I want to join these guys, and that's basically what started to inspire you to become a Marine, basically, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole reason why I'm still in. Like, it's not about the money. It's not about the for me, it's not about the travel. It's really about the people I connect with. Because I know that I now have a little bit of influence in every place that I go, but at the same time, I'm getting back as well from their experiences. So it helps me grow as a person professionally and personally as well. So I think that's the best part of the Marine Corps, and any service really does provide.
Okay. Yeah, and then like
Yes.
what happened after you started getting interested? So how was the process for you? Like, hey, it was easy. You went to a recruit station, and can you walk to us like what happened?
Yes. Yeah. So after I had signed my contract, I was essentially waiting
Hmm.
for my graduation date because I already had a shipping date for me to go, and really I was just waiting for the last couple classes. But then my recruiter pulled me aside and he asked me, he's like, "Hey, I see that you're actually doing pretty well in school," and he went in through my records and started seeing that I was doing pretty well. And he's like, "Have you heard about the NROTC scholarship?" And
Gotcha.
I haven't heard about it, but what exactly is it? And he's like, well, if you're competitive enough and you get selected, you get a chance to go to school and still serve, and
Mm,
you get your bachelor's degree and move forward as an officer. Initially, I wasn't sure what officer entailed. I was like only aware really about the enlisted side, so I was like sure, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I wasn't sure how competitive I would be compared to everyone else. So we submitted the application, and I ended up finding out at our award ceremony that I was selected, and I was given the
Nice.
opportunity to go to school to get my bachelor's degree. And the two schools that they kind of gave me options for was University of Florida, which is actually currently where I'm at here in Gainesville, Florida, um, or UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles. And since I was born and raised in California, I was like, I'll stick
Right.
around closer to family because that was the first time really any of our family members were pushing out. And Los Angeles itself was pretty far. So I decided to go to UCLA, and I went to school there to get my degree. Was able to graduate in 3 years and commission in December of 2015. From then on out, I went to the basic school like immediately after graduating,
Mm-hmm.
and within the 6 months of training that I conducted out there, got my MOS, and then I was able to go to Air Support Control Officer course out there in 29 Palms. And in 2016, October timeframe was when I ended up going to my first fleet tour out in Camp Pendleton, California, with Marine Air Support Squadron 3. I was there for about 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I started getting a lot of my qualifications for my military occupational specialty and advanced pretty quickly. And my record itself was still pretty impressive, and I was fortunate enough to get selected for officer selection officer duty out here in Gainesville, Florida. That's the reason why I ended up coming here to do my time as a recruiter for officers. So it was pretty interesting the fact that I got a chance to come here because one of my main universities that I work with here was University of Florida, which would have been a very interesting experience to come back here as an alumni if I had chosen to come here. But either way, I was pretty happy. I'm still happy with my decision for UCLA because I met a lot of close friends that I still keep in contact to this day, and a lot of people there from the ROTC unit that I also connected with from the Marine Corps and the Navy side. So I still talk to them as well. And
Yeah. So
I
so
stayed there.
I was about to ask you that question. Yeah. So in back in ROTC, so how was that experience for you? Because I know you mentioned that you went to the Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps. For those that's listeners, how is it for those that doesn't know about NROTC? What is it like? How you can do it and how you can apply and what they do for you?
Okay, so the NRTC scholarship is something
Mm-hmm.
that you do have to apply with the enlisted office. They will get you through the process of getting you medically screened, looking at your competitiveness based on your academics, any sort of
Mm-hmm.
extracurricular activities, pretty much what you would normally see in an application for college. The one thing they do look into that is separate from the enlisted side is they start preparing you for the physical fitness test, which is the full 3 miles pull-ups and
Okay.
the planks to see if you're in the high enough caliber so you could get trained to become an officer. But it's very just initial training that they're looking into. And the executive officer of the recruiting station will go through the packages, go through the screening process, and then they will submit them to be boarded and at the district level, and then they'll be able to find out if the applicants are competitive enough to actually get selected from then on out. And then once you go to the school, you'll check in. You'll enroll as a regular student, but you'll be also working with the ROTC unit for your development, for your academics, the specific training that they're going to teach you to know about officership as well as physical training, and specifically for the Marine Corps. The goal for the Marine officer instructors there is to actually prepare you to go to officer candidate school and
Okay.
graduate. UCLA,
Okay, that's
yeah. So
what I was sort of trying to ask you. So, and I see that in your bio, you went to the NRTC and then you transitioned to the officer candidate school. So basically, they prep you to go to the OCA. That's what I'm understanding right?
that is correct. Yes. So they'll prepare you for a 6 week interval train or 6 weeks of training out there.
Gotcha.
Very, and it correlates appropriately with the platoon leaders class that regular college students go through. They go through their two separate sessions of 6 weeks, one summer, and then they follow on in the summer right before their senior year. And given the fact that I was already doing training with ROTC, they pair you up with the platoon leaders seniors class. That way, the training kind of get complements one another because although I didn't go to platoon leaders class during the juniors portion when they go through as sophomores or freshmen, I had training through NROTC, and by the time I got there with the people that were going their second time around, we kind of had the balanced out portion where I had a lot more information on the the academics, a little bit more of the knowledge of the military because they've been training up us in ROTC,
Hmm.
while they had the experience of OCS because I hadn't gone to OCS at all.
Okay,
So we
I
were
see.
able to really kind of understand how to balance our knowledge together and really excel together as a team. And
Now for my knowledge, for my knowledge, so you went to the NRTC and then became like a Marine Corps officer, right?
correct, yes.
Yes, and then that happens on the OCS, so that's where you actually go to the Marine Corps, or how that works.
So after you complete officer candidate school, you return back to the university and complete your senior year because
Oh,
they
okay,
normally
gotcha.
send students. Yes, they normally send students out there between their junior and senior year. That way, they finish their training, they come back, and all they're waiting is their bachelor's degree requirements to be completed. Because once the degree is accredited, then they have the ability to actually commission under the provisions of the military.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. How that works, and it works well for you, and then you actually obtain your degree from the UCLA. And what type of degree actually you pursued at the UCLA?
So I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, and that really honestly has helped me a lot throughout my military career because it allows me to see things in different perspectives
Mm,
and really connect with the people, which is really something that I know we're going to talk about in a few minutes about
mhm.
my philosophy. And really, psychology is something that is a skill set that I still use to this day because it really does help me at least balance out how I'm going to manage my units.
Nice. That's pretty awesome. How you are able to actually tie everything together for your career. And now, question to you: how did the transition from officer candidate school to the basic school prepare you for your career? How was that prepared for your actual career?
I will say that the transition was challenging. It definitely was hard because the basic school is a completely different sort of training from officer candidate school. Just based on the fact that things start getting a little bit more complex, they go more into detail as to what's required to lead a platoon and go more into specifics of the tactics. OCS is just more of an overview of understanding what it means to be an officer and the significance of the impact that you're going to make. But the basic school is that's when you start refining your skill sets a little bit more and prepare you to actually go into the fleet. And coming from California, I went there during the winter time frame, so like the elements were definitely tested.
Mm.
And But it was good. It was still good training, and a lot of people that I connected with there as well. And once I completed the training, I went to 20 Palm, so desert environment at that point, and and so I was able to adjust there a lot easier, and that's where I started going went to more of the command and control side of the house for the aviation. And my school was about like 13 weeks before I went to Camp Pendleton.
So, any big challenge that you want to share from basic school that you can recall going to the basic school?
I I will definitely say, and I don't know if this is maybe just um, a Marine officer thing or just anyone that had just completed like training. Um, I would definitely recommend people do not shy away from asking the questions, right? Like you really do want to make sure you get everything out of those schools because those are the times for you to make those small little errors because the training environment learn from them, and then that way, when you actually go into the fleet and you actually have Marines under your charge, you're not put in a dilemma of trying to figure things out on the spot. Like you want to make sure you take the challenge of what is being provided to you at the formal schools and learn from them. That way, you feel more equipped when you go to in front of your platoon, company, whatever level of unit you end up starting to lead. Um, it's expected that as a brand new officer, like there's a lot for you to still learn and and the thing that you have that new leaders should know is like, hey, it's okay to ask those questions, especially at such a young age, because the expectation is you're still growing, you're still learning. Don't shy away from asking those kind of questions, because at the end of the day, it's going to be investment for you, for you to grow, and it'll benefit the organization and the Marines and service members under your charge.
No, and that's 100% what you're saying is right. Like sometimes people get shy to ask questions because they think they're stupid, but in actuality, there's not a stupid question for if you want more clarification, right?
Right.
Myself, I'm an instructor here for the logistics captains here in the army, and that's the one thing I tell them, like, hey, don't feel shy to ask questions. If you don't want to actually ask them in public, then you can actually come to me like side, and then like I can actually clarify like anything that you don't understand, and that's words of wisdom right there.
No, absolutely, and like I said, like part of it is sometimes it maybe just be pride. Like you want to figure it out yourself, but it's like the organization itself builds itself as a team, right? Not everyone's going to have the answers. Someone's going to come to you with a different perspective, and the best thing that an organization can do is share thoughts to become efficient and effective. And the faster we're able to problem solve and move forward, the better we're going to be equipped when we're out in the field, out in a combat environment, because we're able to continue moving forward, so we could prepare for the next challenge. And so, like I said, it's not an individual effort in the military, right? It's
Right.
the team. So
It's combined a team effort, and then all together, especially in when you, and then like this is something I learned recently. Like the highest you go in the ranks, the smaller it gets. Like you get tighter. It's a small army in my case, but it gets smaller as you continue to progress. Yeah, I mean, so we need one each other, and then I bet for the Marine Corps the same thing because you're a smaller population.
it is. It definitely is, and I feel fortunate with the MOS that I have because, um, yes, there is a rank structure that falls as like any other organization, but we are required to work closely with our enlisted, because every single person in the system that we work in has a significant role that plays for the function of the center itself, and so yes, ranks is there for the overall like understanding that okay, there's people that are going to have the decision making capability, but we as a community understand like, hey, we as the officers make the final call, yes, like for us to hold a burden if something goes wrong, but we understand that everyone there in the center has their unique, once again, like perspective, ideas, and are able to solve problems together. So we work as a team. And I know some other MOSs work differently, well, like different, like whether it's the infantry, other combat arms, and it makes sense for them because they have to make things quickly, decisions so that no one is jeopardized or get hurt. But within our center, like we need to make those decisions without making any mistakes, right? So we have to understand that everyone comes with the appropriate feedback from their own specific positions. So like I said,
Yeah.
even though yes, as I start going higher up in the ranks, it does start getting smaller. Because of the ranks, there's taking the colonels, but I feel fortunate they do have that tie with the lance corporals, all the way up to the senior enlisted ranks because we still stay together and we once again grow together.
No, most definitely, and like we tell that our NCOs in the army are the backbone of the army. So like we cannot do a lot without our NCOs and our soldiers included, right? So I bet it's the same thing for the Marine Corps. So we talk about your early career and education. We talk about you have psychology in the UCLA. You went to the NRTC, transitioned to the OCS, and went to the basic school. Let's talk about more like leadership for Alejandro's perspective. So I seen in your actual bio that you have taken multiple leadership roles throughout your career. Can you describe some of the most impactful positions you held and how they shape your leadership style?
So the first one I would really say that kind of start opening my eyes in a good way was when I was doing recruiting duty because it was a small team, but the candidates themselves, the people that I was working for their applications, they basically became my unit, right? They became kind of what you would see a company of candidates across different counties, different states, and really that's where I had to learn to empower the my subordinate leaders because I was going to be able to be there 24/7 for them. So I had to provide them the guidance, tell them like, hey, these are the requirements that need to happen, and here's how it could get done. But of course, at the end of the day, like they themselves had to make it happen, right? So I would say the recruiting duty was definitely the place where it I wouldn't say it did challenge me in the beginning because I had to adjust to it. Like I couldn't cover all the distance, but it also showed me that the candidates are even at such a young age in their career are capable of so much more, and really that's inspiring for me because it's like this is the future of our organization.
Mhm.
So that helped me, like I said, build my own leadership style, my principles, and kind of learn to empower more. So that when I came back to the operating forces out in Okinawa, Japan, where I'm currently stationed, when I became a company commander, I was able to pass on some of those learning characteristics that I got from recruiting duty to empower my staff and COs, my junior officers. That way they could start growing as well. Because at the end of the day, I know that my time is gonna end at that unit, and they're gonna have to step up, right? So I want to it feels good to know that I'm able to influence them to help them grow, so that they don't feel like they are having to learn by themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, I have some experience too. Not everyone experiences what Alejandro Hernandez experiences, but it at least gives them a perspective so that they know how they want to carve their path for the future.
No, most definitely. I hear you, and I concur with all whatever you have gathered from that time. Now, as we are in that time, I have another question, following question. In your time as an
Sure.
officer selection officer, what strategy do you use to mentor actually and inspire future Marine leaders?
So that's a good question to ask because it's interesting when you have candidates that come into you saying like, hey, I want to be a Marine Corps officer. I want to be a Marine Corps officer. Um, it really is true that a lot of people admire them because they are the representation of the Corps. They're also the first leaders that really come into mind, at least when I thought of in the Marines. And so it they come with the desire, the passion to do it. But the moment they start putting the actual application in motion, they start getting tested, they start looking to see how everyone else is competing within the pool of candidates, they start having doubt. They start realizing, oh shoot, this is a little bit more than I bit off more than I could chew. And part of it is to reignite their passion and to use that as their drive so that they could improve, because even after they commission, they had to sustain that throughout their entire career, right? So they're always going to face a challenge of like saying, "Oh shoot, like maybe I'm having shortfalls." Well, those shortfalls are just notifications for you to push even harder. But how do you do it? You either could do it internally, which could take a long time, or work with the team that have already probably experienced it to grow. And that's links back to what I was saying, that people, for them to grow and exceed in their career, personal life, in any aspect really in life, it's gonna be with the connections that you make. And so that's something that I like. Sometimes some people would come to me saying like, I want to do it. I'm like, okay, great. And I'm more than happy to facilitate that. And I'm here to be as your leader, your mentor, and that person that you could rely on when it comes down to anything really. But the most important thing they have to understand is like, hey, I'm shaping you to be a leader as well. I need you
Mhm.
to also understand that my voice, you may hear it even when you're out in the fleet and I'm no longer next to you. You have to have your own voice of reason, and that development comes with talking to people around you, getting your like, to an extent, your moral compass is well established, and that's all through the characteristics and traits that you learn from the leaders around you. And so I had to like really that's the aspect you have to instill in young candidates, so that they know that they're gonna be the problem solvers. They have to be the problem solvers. They have to see themselves as capable leaders before they push out in front of their platoons, in front of the companies, because at the end of the day, that's what the organization and what the country needs of them, right? Is to prepare themselves, and all that growing happens with their community.
No, and again, that's something important. You know, I mean, coming from your standpoint, and then like for the new generation that coming up, so they need to pay attention because like sometimes this job is not easy. It's not easy. I mean, like so we will have our moments. It's like a heartbeat, right? You go up and down, and then you have to be prepared. When you're in down, you have to be resilience, right? And then build back and then come back up.
Right.
Now, no, it's great to hear from your standpoint. Now, so let's talk about your overseas. And now you went to the overseas. Let's transition to Okinawa. So, what was your experience now coming from California to Jacksonville now to Okinawa? So, what was that cultural shock for you? Like just going to that island of Okinawa, and how was it for you in that transition?
So there definitely was a culture shock in itself because of the location, but I'm fortunate enough to know that because my community is small, I was able to link up with a lot of my friends that were already over there. So
Okay.
they helped me connect back with my MOS because I had already been separated from my original MOS for about 4 years. They were able to get me back up to speed with what the changes have that way they've already been undergoing, and the transition wasn't too difficult. But I think it also helps that like as I start going through around places from different places in my career, the fact that I've connected with other people in the past, they're also showing up in those same locations. I mean, we as a Marine Corps, we only have three big locations we can go to, whether it's Japan, Camp Pendleton, or in the East Coast. So we're bound to run into each other again, right? So that's why building those relationships is important because it makes those transitions a lot easier. And probably the biggest challenge I did face was reconnecting back with that MOS because of all the changes that happened. I as a mid grade captain at that point, the expectation was already high that I should know things, right? And it's true. So that required me to hit the books harder, make sure that I was involved in as many exercises, planning as I can, because I had a little bit of catching up to do, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I knew that my lieutenants were expecting more of me, that my corporal sergeants and everyone else required me to be that problem solver. And so working with the unit, I was able to get my qualifications back where they needed to be, and then go to the Weapons and Tactics course to become a Weapons and Tactics Instructor out in Yuma. And that's pretty much one of like our main courses to go to be at the pinnacle of my MOS. So I was really fortunate to go there a couple months after checking into Okinawa. And part of it was because once again I had that drive to be the best that I could be within the field that I'm at. And so I finished that and got designated as a WTI, and I immediately got put in the position of managing the weapons and tactics training program for my squadron, which is what I'm currently doing now.
Okay, yeah, and then I have a question that we haven't touched. I know you're mentioning your MOS, but we haven't discussed what really intel for the audience. So you are like a air support control officer. That's your MOS, right? So can you, in a nutshell, like, can you explain to those that doesn't know what you do and then what they do as an air support control officer?
Absolutely. So, as an air support control officer, I work with the Direct Air Support Center, also known as the DASC, and our job is to combine the capabilities of the aviation side with the ground because we are the link between the ground and the air to ensure
Mm,
that the missions are happening. So
okay,
whenever something happens and there's a request that needs to come through, like the ground unit needs immediate support, that request goes through us through the DASC, and we then pass it on to the aircraft. So we are having that connection between the two,
connection. Hmm.
so that we're able to provide whether it's direct support based on providing aviation to targets or logistical support or even bringing back our troops that have been injured. All that information passes through the DASC, and we work closely with the ground units to ensure that we're deconflicting the airspace when they're still sending rounds downrange to make sure that the fight is still happening. So we serve as the glue for the MAGTAF. And a lot of that for me, I take the pride in that because it's two different worlds, so to speak, that we are having to balance because each one have their own priorities. And for us to make sure that the Marine Corps itself is having its objectives met, we need to combine both capabilities. So that's where I fall in. I work with my
Yeah.
Marines to ensure that that information is passing through a system appropriately, and we can provide the
Yeah.
appropriate command and control.
This is similar to the JTACs in the Air Force.
It works similar. So JTACs serve as the terminal controller at the end. So where the aircraft have passed to their airspace, they will then take control of the aircraft. So we're kind of like the transiting period of when the
Yeah.
aircraft are going into there. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So basically, you provide that control and support from the ground to the air. So like, hey, this is what the ground support needs. The ground support they need you right now, and then you just make that link between them talking to the air, and they you have to close that gap because there's two different lingos. I bet, like one from the ground and one from the air. You have to understand both.
Absolutely, yep. And it's something that is expected of us at such a young stage of our career. I know that as other fields, they are still learning their trade, and then by the time they're probably majors or gunnies or staff sergeants, they start falling into the more like combined operations, so to speak. Like our MOS requires it to be right off the get go because I mean that's what our function is to combine both entities.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Good to know. And then for those that are looking more information, most definitely you can actually drop your comments here below or hit us on social media. And more than welcome. We have the SME, so the subject matter expert that can give you more information for those our listeners that want to know more about this MOS. Now, you went to Okinawa and became a company commander of the headquarters and service company, or HAC. So I bet it was challenging. So can you share a moment or a mission that stand out to you, like when you were like company commander?
Absolutely. So it definitely was a different world serving as a HNS company commander, and a lot of it was because it started involving more of motor T, logistics, and all the other functions that fall within the headquarters company. I've usually been attached to the air support company, which are the ones that work with the MOS of what I just described.
Hmm.
So it required me to be to become a little bit more in tune with the rest of the functions and how they supported the squadron as a whole. And that's really where I learned that they are definitely the hardest working individuals of the entire squadron because they do put a lot of work 24/7. Even when the operations are happening, they're still doing maintenance cycles. They're still doing everything that they can to make sure that they're ready that we are all ready for the next fight. And and I think the most challenging part as a company commander is because every single section has their own priorities, their own things that need to happen. Deconflicting that was really one of those things that I had to work well with my staff and having the personal skills to actually really connect with people and try and provide a proper balance so that no one is feeling like, oh, he's having preferences on certain sections. Like, no, it's actually what is the best way to manage everyone's requirements while at the same time making sure that we're not missing our mission, we're not missing our mark, and and really that's the biggest learning connect aspect that I learned from HNS Company Commander is really getting a chance to work with different MOSs that I normally
Hmm.
don't work with, and having them still balance and grow and meet the mission requirements of our commander.
No, yeah, most definitely. I think company commander is one of the most rewarding, like jobs. As you see, I don't know you can see it in the back. That's my flag when I was a company commander right there. You know, what I mean, I still remember. I have it on my
Nice.
game room because it brings great memories when I was a commander. One of the best
Absolutely.
jobs in the as an officer, leading soldiers, be with them, understanding what they do, understanding the mission. In my case, I'm a logistics officer, so I was providing logistics for my SF community. So it was very rewarding. Now, question: what was it like earning the advanced qualification, senior director, and direct air support center officer in charge? Can you talk about that experience for you?
Yeah, so the senior ed director is our last qualification within
Hmm.
our MOS pipeline to show that you have mastered all the other qualifications underneath you. That is the requirement for me to go to the Weapons and Tactics Instructor course, and given the fact that I had just finished recruiting, I was required to hit back the books, get proficient on my not just my knowledge but my actual execution skills, and at the very end, after I've performed in a capacity, whether it's an exercise, a drill, whatever it may be, to show that I'm knowledgeable and able to manage the crew, I'm required to go through a boarding process where qualified senior air directors and weapons and tactics instructors will ask me questions to see my extent of knowledge and both conceptual and factual, and see if I'm ready to go to weapons and tactics instructor course out there in Yuma. And so that I had to study for both of them. One for the qualification, and the other one to go actually be ready to go to the school. The Direct Air Support Center Officer in Charge is a designation that once you've completed all your qualifications and have shown that you're able to plan and employ a DASC by yourself, that shows that you are able to serve essentially as the representative for the unit whenever any sort of questions come up that require a subject matter expert. And so I wanted to complete that before I went to Weapons and Tactics Instructor course, so that I could prove to them that, like, hey, look, I got some experience to back my qualifications up, and I've done my fair experience, so that I was able to be put on roles that it required me to prove that to them, right? To show my experience, which it definitely facilitated.
No, yeah. I think you're achieving like the pinnacle of your MOS. That's great to hear, man. Like you're doing like great stuff within your MOS and the Marine Corps and your rank. That's great to hear. Now let's come to the current role right now, and then your visions for the future. So let's now talking about what you're doing now and what's next for you. So I think that what I have here in my notes, you are now the Weapons and Tactics Training Program Officer in Charge. Can you tell us like the importance of this role and how it impact the Marine Corps as a whole?
Yeah, so now as a designated WTI and managing this program, my sole responsibility is to manage the training for all the Marines in the unit that require qualification designations to make sure that we are proficient enough to employ the capabilities of the DASC, which has its own echelons as well. So my job is to work with the other company commanders, get the training plans developed and employed, so that we could look to see if our Marines are ready to employ as a DASC. So every month I'm working to make sure that we are providing the correct training plans that are going to facilitate the actual production of qualifications and tangible results. So that's where my role is. We have a lot of WTIs now in our unit, and it's helping to facilitate that working group, so we could actually create the training that the Marines desired and required. And I'm going to be doing that position for a couple more months before I PCS, because I'm also about to move back from Okinawa back to the States.
Back to the States. Nice. That's pretty nice. Do you know where you're gonna go to the States yet?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough that this year I was in one of the PME boards, CPIB specifically, and that's for the intermediate education. And I was selected to go to the Marine Corps Command and Staff College out there in Quantico, Virginia.
Quantico.
So
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. So
Yeah, so I'm waiting for my results to come back as well. So ILE, we call it intermediate level for mayor. I mean, we have to do the same thing, and we can actually with the Army we can train with the Marine Corps fellows at the Quantico. So I put it on my list too. So we'll see. I'm waiting for that list to come out.
Nice.
But hopefully that happens to you, and then I mean it's gonna happen. I'm positive, and then you'll come here. My location is in Richmond, so I'm here in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm like 2 hours away from Quantico. So yeah, I drive through there sometimes. Now, Alejandro, what advice would you give to young service members aspiring to follow your footsteps if they're listening?
So, like I mentioned earlier, I really do believe that asking the questions is important. Developing yourself intellectually by connecting with other people is important for the overall development. I will also say to stay humble, because there's always opportunities for you to grow, and a lot of it has to do with you receiving feedback from everyone else. You're never going to be the subject matter expert of everything, right? You could be in one category, sure, but you should always know that you could always grow. Keep asking those questions. Challenge yourself to go into another field after you feel like you've mastered already one. That way you can expand your overall skill sets, your overall knowledge, and you become a better mentor for someone else once you come in. You're put in that leadership position. So I would definitely say venture out to keep challenging yourself. Don't stay in a place of comfort, because at that point it's going to start getting boring, right? You want to make sure you keep challenging your mind, your body in any way that you possibly can to be a better version of yourself. And like I said, a lot of that comes down to connecting with your community, with your peers. Sorry, there was an Alexa. But yes, that's connecting with the people was really important.
Okay, and then ANSO. Let's talk about ANSO. So, what ANSO means to you? Because right here we're in the podcast of the ANSO. So, how do you actually got involved? Like in this case, called a mountain band, and what advice would you give to the listeners to actually join the ANSO community?
Oh, it's absolutely about the people. It's about seeing how everything is possible, and the thing is to once again get out of the comfort zone, connect with the community out there. Uh, and Colonel Montalban really was the one that like allowed me to connect with this organization as a whole, and showed me like there's so many people out there that have those skill sets, have that knowledge, have that time that they want to dedicate to mentor and teach and train. And being part of ANSO will have you get connected with those people that have been there, done that, and will help you actually connect even more so with the rest of the community. And ultimately, it's those bonds that you make. Like, because at the end of the day, the service is going to come to an end. Whether you decide to retire, whether you decide to get out, but the people are still there, right? That's the beauty of being in an organization like this. And getting connected with Anzo makes it so much easier, because everyone is excited to see one another from different cultures, different backgrounds, and but still a lot of similarities, right? So I think that's really why you feel comfort knowing that like you're part of an organization that are all like-minded individuals and want to pursue an influential and impactful path for the rest of the community.
No, most definitely, and also there. I think the planning is on the plans. The next symposium is going to happen on the east side, east coast, and potentially it's going to happen during on the Washington region, Washington D.C. region, or even the Naval Academy. That was the conversation. So stay tuned for the listeners that are super eager and interested to come to the symposium. I know they just had the last symposium on the West region on San Diego. Now they're gonna come back to the East region, potentially through the Washington D.C. area or the Naval Academy. We'll see. So yeah,
That'd be great.
that'll be great. I know Coronel Montalban is super excited. I was talking to him yesterday. He's always pumped up with music. We had that fire chat going on. So he's always motivated. I said, like, hey, sir, like, you have a lot of energy, sir. You do. You do.
He does, and it's great. It's really refreshing seeing how love and passion he has.
No, and I use him as a mentor. I mean, although I'm in the army, he's one of my mentors. And when I talk to my students and here in the logistics side of the house on capillary course, I do have Marines from the logistics side to come to come and to become students. And I always say like, yeah, I know about Marines, I know about you, I know the Marine birthday is a big thing, and so we can get in this conversation, and all because him. All because
Absolutely.
like Coronel Montalban. Hey Alejandro, any closing comments before we actually close this podcast? I'll give you like the floor to you.
I will definitely say if people are still interested in like learning more about Anzo, definitely follow those links, and connect. Like I said, it's important. And even, like I said, even if you decide to only stay in the Marine Corps or service for a couple of years, like the benefits of connecting with so many people and building your organization, your network is tenfold. It's phenomenal. It's what you really want to do. It's what the military, in my opinion, is all about. And so definitely follow Anzo. Look into actually getting into the organization as a whole by registering, and and I look forward to seeing everyone in the East Coast if they do the symposium there for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna happen. They're just like saying this year they did it in Norfolk. So now next year they're trying to see whether it's gonna go more like Washington or the Naval Academy. Well, Alejandro, a pleasure to have you here in the ANSO podcast again. Best of luck to you and your career. I know you're gonna do great, and we'll see if I can see you on the next symposium, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So when I'm out there in Quantico, for sure.
Yeah, okay. And then again, thank you, Captain Hernandez, for sharing your journey and insights with us today in the ANSO podcast. Your dedication to service and leadership is truly inspiring. To our listeners, I hope you found this conversation as enriching as I did. It's always a privilege to highlight the stories of those making a difference in our military and beyond. Do not forget to follow ANSO on social media, ANSO Mail, and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. We also welcome your feedback, so feel free to leave a comment, review, or message us with your thoughts or suggestions for future episodes. Once again, I'm Captain Manuel Calo, and you've been listening to the ANSO Podcast. Until next time, stay motivated, stay connected, and keep making an impact. Adelante, let's go, mi gente, vamos allá.